I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week that marked the end of 2016. And what a week it was, and the week preceding that didn't get a whole lot of advertisement either. But the market's momentum carried it right through the holidays. And I know it's been like 13, 14 years since we've had the mad cow deal that broke out right in the middle of Christmas there. But still, sometimes when you talk to people that were involved in that, and it took a lot out of a lot of guys, it makes them break out in a cold sweat just thinking about Christmas and the cattle market. But boy, this time there was just no hiccup in it at all. Everything just went right through. And while a lot of us were watching football and eating too much and spoiling our kids and stuff, these feedlot guys, they gained a lot of market position. And that's basically what we have to do anymore, is just try to build this market up as big as we can, because it takes them longer to tear it down then. And we don't get anything real steady. We get opportunities to grab $3, $4, $5 at a time and try to hold on to it as long as we can, because we know when we're going to lose it, it's going to lose it in big hunks like that too. But very interesting weeks, nothing to speak of in the feeder cattle at all really, but on your fat cattle, quite a bit happened. We'll talk about it. At the end of the year, your live cattle futures on the February contract ended the year at 116.05. I had a big rally there late on December that went off, of course, but it went off all the way up at 119, just trying to chase down and keep up with the cash market, and it really overextended it just a little bit. But again, February ended the year at 116.05. June, and I'm just thinking down the line here, June 104.67. So we know we're going to lose some ground in the spring there sometime. And then next fall, we're just right around $1, a little bit better than $1. So, you know, we got a lot of people saying that we've got great things to look forward to this 2017. And I think there is a lot to look forward to, but it's really not reflected in the board at all. Now, in your feeder cattle, your January contract ended the year at 130.45. That's right in there tight. Cattle bringing a little bit more than that cash basis round, but that's pretty close. But thinking down the line, we've got a lot to lose. April is at 124.65, holding in there pretty good. But if you get much further than that, like you look at next fall in October, it's down to 120.75. So we've got some work to do to get this, to get some investors and some funds and guys to get in and put some money in this board so that it kind of gets up there to what we think we can do with the cattle. But you look at the fat cattle market, you know, Christmas week there, weren't sure if we were going to get a whole lot of business done. Had a little bit of business there in the middle of the week. And then late there on right before Christmas, the feedlots gained everything back that they had lost earlier in December there, and got the market up there 115, 116, something like that. And then here the week between Christmas and New Year's, where we weren't sure if we were going to have a big movement, that Christmas week movement was over 105,000 negotiated. That's really impressive during a holiday week. Well, during the week that between Christmas and New Year's, earlier in the week and middle of the week, you had a little bit of trade here and there and around, and was up to over 70,000 just through Thursday. Well, then on Friday, right before New Year's Eve, had another big movement on Friday. We're not even sure how much that's going to add up to be until it all comes in here first of this week. But it's going to be over 100,000 again too. So that's just unusual to have that much fat cattle negotiated trade movement right there on the holiday weeks. But ended up on this past Friday here, right before the end of the year, 118 was your predominant live price there, which was mostly $3 higher, like in Texas, maybe closer to $2 higher in Kansas. But up there on a dress basis, we had 190. Which is, you know, just tons better than what we'd had preceding the holidays. And I'll tell you how hungry these packers were for cattle. If you look on the Twitter channel there, Consolidated Beef Producers, they sold some Mexican origin cattle there on Friday at 118, right there at the top of the market. And sometimes it's hard to decipher through those market reports the USDA puts out to really find out what some of these off cattle are bringing, because you can't hardly pick them out, and I did it for years, and it's hard for me to pick them out too. But 118 for Mexican origin cattle, that's a real price there, and that's, you know, those cattle can be bought way back of what the domestic feeder cattle market is. And then they also posted some Holstein cattle on there at 106, and that's pretty respectable too for Holstein type cattle. But you talk about all this negotiated trade. We'll find out here when they get all the numbers put together. But I've been kind of forecasting that, and I do think that's going to happen. This past year, 2016, is going to be the first year in years and years and years, decades, that we sold more negotiated cattle than we did the previous year. Because it's just been going down, 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 you know, like around 20% there the time it come out for 2015. But I think we're going to inch back up, and that is something that will keep this industry viable for independent producers and for cow-calf guys. And we've got to keep this negotiated trade going, and not give the packers, you know, not always against the packers. We have to have the packers too, but they're just so much smarter than all the rest of us that it's hard to compete. And when they've got all this captive supply, it's really hard to negotiate with them, and you can't feel bad about trying to take your market back, because it's like laying awake at night thinking that you got to the car dealer when you went and bought your new pickup. It didn't happen, you know. If the harder you stuck it to him, the better it was for you. But anyways, I think we're going to have this trend, which I hope will continue with more negotiated trade, and that is healthy, healthy, healthy for the cattle business. But you look at the slaughter during the holiday weeks. It was big there. The week between Christmas and New Year's, 507,000. You look at the same week a year ago, was 440,000, so 67,000 more on a holiday week, and that is too because the holidays landed on the weekend, so that helped a little bit, but still. But you look for the year 2016, it killed just over 30.1 million head of cattle, which was up 6.4% compared to the previous year. You look at the hogs, which has really been the cattle market's biggest struggle this past year, is we've just been drowning in pork and all these hogs. It killed 117.4 million hogs, up 2.4%. That'll be a record. And just trying to get out from under all these hogs. And I do think that that's one reason that we can expect a pretty healthy cattle market going into this year. Because if you look at the hog market going into this next spring and summer, it's roughly $10 higher than what it is right now, of course, on a dress basis. But that goes to show they've dialed back the supply on these hogs a little bit, which is going to let the cattle market breathe a little bit, because they're just such a tough competitor. They're just a perfect competitor for us. And when somebody wants to go in and they're thinking about buying some beef, they can just automatically transpose that to pork, and that's where our hardest competitor is there. And if we can, you know, if what's good for the hog market is going to be good for the cattle market too, because we've just been drowning in this stuff. But just not anything at all happening in the feeder cattle market. Your CME cash feeder cattle index, the last that come out was 133.17. Real-time index on Cattle Market Central that kind of runs right ahead of it is at 136.49. That's on a few sales that we picked up on Cattle Market Central through the holidays. And so we can expect that CME index to come up a little bit here the next day or two. And one reason that it's higher is because of where they did have a few sales. Of course, we just pulled the middle 12 states, but we didn't have any sales much at all in, you know, Texas and Kansas and Oklahoma and places. But you do have some sales up in Nebraska, northern Missouri, places like that. We're getting to the time of the year when they have their biggest sales of the year a lot of times. So even though it's cold, it doesn't scare them. They'll get out there and get their cattle marketed, and got a world of cattle to sell. I know here on Monday, Joplin's looking for 12,000 head of cattle here on this first Monday to start the new year. And what I think was a big mistake, Oklahoma City, the city stockyards is closed, which nobody understood why they went in and had a sale the Christmas week and then decided to take this week off, which seems crazy to me because everybody's anxious to get back to business. But you look at some quotes on Cattle Market Central there on Friday in Lexington, Nebraska. They sold 119 steers, weighed 620 at 146 1/4. It's a pretty big group there. Earlier in the week between Christmas and New Year's in Loup City, Nebraska on Tuesday, they had a sale and sold a load of 821-pound steers at 133, and that's pretty much the market, especially up there in the northern plains. But DV Auction's looking for a big year this year. We've got a lot of production sales scheduled up here. If you raise bulls to sell and heifers, breeding heifers to sell, and females, and going to have a production sale, be sure and get it consigned with DV Auction. We got a world of buyers out there that you can't tap into unless you get it consigned with us. And if you got some video work to do, you sure need to get a hold of us because we're already getting stacked up on our calendar, getting those scheduled. But that's your cattle market summary for the last week of 2016. My home office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.